Now, it is a very important day for us tonight. In particular, we are going to be chatting to some very influential and political heads in particular. Now, we are going to, as South Africans, it's important that we do pay a lot of attention when it comes to the election 2024. Now, the general election is taking place next year, with many analysts who are saying that it could be a pivotal moment in our nation's history. Now, over the course of the last few months, we've seen political parties come together to see how they can unseat the ruling ANC, but also to see how that the ANC has actually worked a lot over the last few months to be able to get into communities, to be able to provide more services to communities. But for us as citizens, we need to become more proactive in our discourses to see how that we can actually make a difference. Now, the time has come for us to work with government to build a better South Africa. And to chat more about this, we are delighted to be joined by Mr. Rasheed Gutta as well, who is a businessman actually and an active citizen who is trying to make a difference in South Africa, as well as the leader of Action SA, Mr. Herman Mashaba. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to INX Prime to the both of you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm becoming a senior and a second citizen of your station. Thank you so much for always giving me this opportunity.
I feel like we need to give you a show on here. But no, thank you guys again for coming through. I really do appreciate it. You know, it's very important for us to have these conversations. But I want to start off first with you, Rasheed. I think it's such an important conversation for us to have because we talk about community involvement and being active citizens. You know, we've been hearing it for a very long time. You know, we can't rely on the state. We can't rely on politics only. We need to have everyday South Africans getting involved. So being an active citizen plays a very important role. Now, you want to run this amazing initiative, but I want to understand what's in it for you. What do you benefit from doing this?
Assalamu alaikum, Zarif, and good evening to the viewers. You know, the country is in a very downward trajectory. We've got a serious crisis and things are getting worse every day. So I felt that, sorry, I just want to refer to, you know, you hope that somebody is going to come out there, whether it's the president, an individual, or a civic organization, to come there and solve the problems. But there's no messiahs there, there's no saviors. Sometimes you've got to stand back, self-reflect, and, you know, if you remember the Fees Must Fall campaign, where active citizens, maybe 4 or 5 university students stood up and fought for the rights of fees that people couldn't afford. If you look at the civic organization like the Auta movement, and how they fought against the e-tolls. And, you know, this year we celebrated the UDF 40 years, where the UDF came up with the slogan, the United 500 Organizations under UDF Unites, Apartheid Divides. So I think we've reached a stage in this country where we need to become more active in our citizenry. If you look at the 2021 elections, the local government, only 35% of the eligible voters voted. That's only 12 out of 40 million people. And why is that? That most of the people stayed at home because they've lost trust, they've lost hope in the democracy, you know, that was instilled so many years ago. The masses of the country have not benefited. Only a narrow band of politically connected individuals have made a lot of money and benefited at their expense. So we have to come out there and motivate people to register. Many people haven't registered even to vote. So we need them to come and we need to defend our democracy at this point in time. So what I'm trying to achieve is to motivate the people and the citizens in this country to say, listen, we need to go there now and we need to restore the hope in the society.
Yeah, that's a very important project that you are embarking on. But I want to just come back to Mr. Mashaba. You know, we are looking at, I mean, you just mentioned the stat now where you're saying a lot of the possible eligible voters didn't actually vote in the last elections. We can look at young people in particular. You can look at the number of young people that could have actually voted, and if they did vote, it would change the whole, you know, aspect of what the election actually holds and who ends up winning the elections in that sense. So young people play such an important role. But I know that you as Action SA, you really do focus on community building, community development. And I mean, looking at this initiative, it does speak directly to what you guys believe in as Action SA. What do you think of his initiative in particular?
Well, I think more than important, and I think you mentioned in your opening remarks that analysts are saying, honestly, we don't need analysts to really tell us the 2024 elections are going to be a defining moment, whether South Africa is going to be a failed state or we're going to really start and create a new chapter for our country. And what is actually quite deeply hitting for me in particular are the youth who have actually given up on politics and leaving their future in the hands of politicians. They don't realize the power that they possess. They are the biggest casualties of the failure of our country, where we've got what, over 60% of our youth unemployed. We've opened our borders. They're the biggest victims of drugs and so forth. So they're the ones who should really be standing up to say, we are going to vote these politicians out. Unfortunately, they've been taught to believe that you change political environment by going to ban clinics and tires in the streets. They don't realize the power of their vote. Because when you go out and vote, whether you're a billionaire created by whatever, or you're someone who's not worked for the last 15 years, you know what? Come 2024, you can change the course of your life. You don't have to really rely on Herman Mashaba or on Action SA. You decide who actually gets into government. Because one thing people must understand, whether you go out and vote or not, South Africa will have a government. Now, if you don't go out and vote, then if you end up being governed by criminal syndicates or corrupt leaders, like how it has happened throughout the whole continent, unfortunately, that would really be the outcome. So we have the last opportunity to save this country come 2024. And what Rasheed is doing, it's really commendable, because as a businessman to say, no, we cannot allow the situation to really continue. Let's encourage our people. Let's encourage civil society out there. Let's make sure that our youth, everybody, they go out and register to vote. And come 2024, let's go and vote. And you vote for a political party of your choice. But what is important is look at political parties, what they offer, what their policies, will their policies make a difference to you? And in the event that they fail to meet your expectations, the next time around, 2.5 years ago, 2026, it's local government elections. Very important, because that's where service delivery happens. If ever whatever party you vote for in 2024, they let you down, come 22.5 years later, you punish, you go and vote for someone else.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time for South Africans come 2024. We are going to see a lot of people voting, and I think it's a need. You know, a lot of people feel, looking at social media, looking at the amount of complaints and comments people have, people are really excited. They believe that this could be a historic time for South Africa come 2024. But I just want to touch on something that you did mention. Now, you spoke about this campaign, but you know, being a young person, we are very woke. We're a very woke generation. It's important for us to be like that. You know, we look at business people, we understand how business people think when it comes to politics. They don't just look at one political party, they look at all of them. They try to cover their interests with everyone. So you'll see them supporting the ANC, the DA, the EFF, and everyone else, Action SA, and many others. And we see, you know, business people doing that to be able to protect their own interests. Now, I want to ask you, as a businessman, you are a businessman, you know, I believe that, you know, you must have spoken to other political parties as well. Why did you choose to work with Action SA in particular, and will you actually be working with other political parties as well? Because that's a very important thing for us to understand your interest and where it lies as well.
Oh, thanks, yeah. So what happened is that I've been very privileged, because I went to China so many years ago in the beginning of the 2000s, and I witnessed this Chinese revolution that was very similar to the Industrial Revolution. And where China emerged, within 25 years, what took Europe, the whole continent, 200 years to do. So I came to realize that how did they do this? They basically looked at countries like Malaysia, Japan, and all these countries, and they just copied the same thing. And that's how they became successful. So success is not a secret. Our problem in this country is not a secret. If we look at other countries and follow that, then we're going to be successful.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, and my business being in the furniture business, when I went to China, I went to see how they were industrializing that country. And this country has got plenty mineral resources here. It's got all the raw materials. So I began to say that we can replicate and learn from the Chinese. And that's why I started to write about articles and proposals on how we can resolve this this pandemic of inequality, poverty, and unemployment. I believe that that can be changed overnight because we have all the advantages in this country. We're well positioned geographically, and our currency is now cheaper, so we can be more competitive.
Yeah.
So
Let's just
that's
touch
why
on-
I started to present in 2018. I gave proposals to the ANC government. I met with the President Cyril Ramaphosa. I gave it to him. Last year I went to the policy conference and I gave my inputs there at the ANC policy conference. I went to the elective conference. And I've also been engaging with other parties like Songezo Zibi from the Rise Mzansi that have just emerged. But the thing about Herman that makes him different is Action SA. I can relate to him because he's a businessman. You know, I've read his, this one book where it's called The Greatest Entrepreneurs, where they highlighted Herman among so many other successful people. And against all odds, I mean, in apartheid South Africa, for him to emerge as such a great and successful businessman, I have great admiration for that. And he's been through the difficult times. He started with nothing. Recently, I went to the inaugural policy conference where I was a guest there. And then I saw a representation of so many different, races there, where you felt that they are non-racial organization. All different people are in leadership positions. And, they've got that ethos of God-fearing in them, which they want to bring back that moral, the country has got that moral fiber that's been lost. So all these kind of qualities and the democratic nature of how they debated on their policies, they brought in experts to discuss, education, health. And I think Herman was wanting to have the death penalty. But when he saw the constituency saying that, we can't do this, he respected that decision. And now, he's changed that policy. But that's what I liked about Action SA.
No, you definitely sound like a great supporter of the party in particular. But I just want to chat to you, Mr. Mashaba, in particular, when it comes to your conversations with business people like Mr. Gutta over here, and also other business leaders in the business industry in particular. Politics and business do somehow merge, and they find beautiful ways to merge. Unfortunately, we do sometimes see it merge in the wrong ways. But let's just talk about the importance of that collaboration or that kind of connection between politics and business. Why is it so important for politicians like yourself, who is a businessman in his own right, and rightfully so, but why is it important to incorporate business when it comes to looking at the future of the country?
Well, the thing is, fortunate enough, I was born a capitalist. I've actually taken myself out of poverty. I was born in abject poverty, losing my father at the age of 2. I grew up most of my youth in a tin-roofed house. Brought up in a child-hated household. I took a decision when P.W. Botha said I could not go into business. I decided I'm not going to allow P.W. Botha to determine my destiny. And I went into business. And I know the role that business can play. And I've really been blessed by God over many years to be a successful business person where, as a family, we've made more money than what our family can do. And that has given us the privilege to assist other people. That's how we used our family's resources to start a movement like Action SA. I don't expect anything from Action SA. The only thing I expect from Action SA and all the members to create a fairer society, a society where there can be equal opportunities, not equal outcomes. And I know it is only through business that we can really prosper. That's why for us as Action SA, we are unapologetic about it, that no union will have a veto right on our economic policies. Because if you want to deal with poverty, unemployment, and so forth, you need partnership with business. As long as business people who support politics, their agenda is to support democracy and prosperity of a nation. And I'm a living example of that, using my own family's resources to ensure that I can create a better South Africa for future generation. I don't expect tenders from government. I don't need government tenders, but I need a fair, equal society that creates opportunities for everyone. Unite us as South Africans with our diversity for all of us to be South Africans.
Yeah, I'm glad that you actually mentioned that, because we are getting a lot of comments coming in, and people are saying that, when you're looking at business people and politicians, in most cases, one person is benefiting from that when it comes to tenders or whatever it might be. I'm glad that you mentioned now that you don't need tenders, and that's a very important thing. But hopefully we do see business people also have the same mindset when it comes to that. And moving forward, we can see people who just want to create impact and not necessarily worry about tenders at all.
Let me tell you one thing that we've just come out of our policy conference when it comes to corruption, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with the business leaders that Mr. Gutta has organized. They must understand we are going to have specialized units to deal with corruption. All our public representatives, from the president onwards, immediately South Africans give us the mandate to be in government. You must sign and accept that on a regular basis. All the politicians must be subjected to lifestyle audit, including senior government officials. So if you want to work for Action SA government, you must accept that at any point in time, there must be a lifestyle audit, because if you are being paid R1 million, we expect you to live R1 million. We want you to earn as much as whatever, but you cannot earn R1 million and then you go and live R100 million lifestyle. So that is going to really be very important. And we want corrupt people to really know, you get arrested under Action SA, no longer a parole.
Yeah.
If you are sentenced to 15 years for corruption, I can tell you you're going to serve 15 years and you are going to pay back to society. You're not going to be in jail and use our jail as places where you can go and do this type of stuff that Thabo Bester made. I can tell you, under Action SA, you breach the trust of society. You murder someone, there will be consequences.
No, that's very strong, and I can see you're very passionate about that stance in particular. Just in closing, before we let you guys go as well, we know that this interaction with the business leaders is actually going to happen and live stream in particular on the 2nd of October at about, I think it's 6:20 p.m. Now we know that it is because of the high demand of people. It's not just going to be the people that are within the community or in that area, but it's also going to be live streamed so that everyone else can watch it as well. It's going to be a great conversation. We're all looking forward to listening to it. But again, Mr. Herman Mashaba as well as Mr. Gutta, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for this great opportunity.
Awesome, guys. That is definitely the president of Action SA as well as businessman Rasheed Gutta, just sharing with us the importance of community development and also these community initiatives to be able to build a better South Africa.